and welcome to the Software Engineering Unlocked podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Michaela, and today I have the pleasure to talk to Alvaro, a web developer who enjoys learning every day. But before I start, let me tell you about an amazing startup that is sponsoring today's podcast, Codiga. Codiga is a code analysis platform that automates the boring parts of code reviews and lets you merge with confidence on GitHub, GitLab, and Bitbucket. I've worked with Codiga for around 1 year now, and I love how it guides me in discovering and improving, the not so nice parts of my code base. But there is more. Codiga also has a coding assistant that helps you write better code faster. Find and share safe and reusable blocks of code within your favorite IDE on demand while you're coding. Codiga has a great free plan, so there's nothing that stops you from giving it a try. Learn more at codiga.io, that is codiga.io. But now really back to Alvaro. Alvaro created his first website at the age of 16 and did not stop learning and perfecting his craft. One day, he started to make JavaScript plugins and, again, to learn and as an experiment. And 3 years later, he earned enough from his experiment so that he could quit his job. When I last looked, his library had 21,000, downloads per week on NPM. And today I'm super excited to talk with him and learn how he actually makes money with open source, how he could, write something on the side so that he can quit his day job and become free and independent. So, hello, Alvaro, to the show. Welcome, and I'm really excited that you're here.
Hello, Michaela. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. So the last time I looked, and this was 2020, right? A tweet from 2020. It said 21,000 downloads on NPM.
Right.
What is it now? It must be even higher, right?
To be honest, I'm not sure. I haven't checked in a while. So I don't know exactly, but should be similar, I guess. I'm not very sure if NPM stats are very representative anyways, but I think it's just a way to show that, you can have a quite wide broadcast if you do something, by yourself in your own house. Nowadays, it's quite easy to reach so many people and to influence people in some way, right? Or companies or whatever. So I think it shows a bit the power of open source sometimes.
Yeah. So this is exactly what I want to deep dive a little bit into, the power of open source, right? I think the power of remote work, is something that I'm very fascinated with. And with the pandemic, I think a lot of people now really understood what's going on here. But what about open source? So how did you even come up with the idea? And maybe we should also explain my listeners a little bit what you were building. It's called FullPage.js, right? And
Yeah.
as I understood it, it's like a web page that goes over, or a website that goes over the full page and is easy to set up. And what is
it's
it
like
exactly?
it's a component that allows developers to create these kind of websites where you have like a full screen kind of slider that snaps to each of the sections. So when I created that, the effect wasn't very popular yet. It became very popular because I released it almost at the same time that Apple released the page for iPhone 5C. And the iPhone 5C website was using this kind of effect. So I think then people started searching for this kind of effect, and they were able to find my component. So how did I come up with the idea? Well, I didn't actually think too much about it. I wanted to create a component just to learn by myself. I wanted to keep on practicing jQuery at the time, because the first version was a jQuery plugin. It wasn't vanilla JavaScript.
Okay.
And I just came up with this idea that I thought it was cool because I was making a website in my company at the time. My boss told me I want kind of like a very simple website, kind of like a PowerPoint presentation. And then I researched a bit, and I came up with this idea that I took from different websites. And then after creating the website, I thought, well, this was quite difficult for me. I was trying to find for a component to do this kind of websites, and it doesn't exist. So it might be a good idea for me to create the components and see if other people find it also interesting, because it will save them a lot of time. And that's what I did. And then it started getting traction on GitHub. I remember one day checking in and seeing that it had like 500 more stars on GitHub, and I didn't even push it too much. So I was quite surprised, and then just kept on moving. Yeah.
Cool. And so did you, because I looked on your GitHub profile and I saw it's now GPL, right?
Yeah.
Was that the initial license also that you looked up and you thought this is the right thing? Did you already think that you want to commercialize it a little bit? Did you want to
Hmm.
make money by having people that use it commercially,
Yeah.
needing
No,
to
not
pay?
at all. My whole purpose was just to keep on learning,
Mm-hmm.
and at the same time to get the motivation for myself to
Mm-hmm.
keep on learning, to do something useful for others, and that well, makes you very excited about that. And initially, it was under the MIT license, because that's what most open source kind of use, right, in the JavaScript spectrum. And later on, when I decided to start commercializing it, is when I made the change to GPL
Mm-hmm.
version 3, because I
And
thought it was going to be a bit more suitable for it.
yeah, exactly. It's also my license. Like either it's the Apache, like years before it was the Apache, and now it's always the MIT that I use for open source to give a lot of freedom to the user,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And so, does it mean that if you already licensed it before under MIT, that the previous versions are still licensed under that, and only the new things are under, you know,
Yeah, well,
GDPR, or how does that
this
work? I'm not
yeah,
really
this
familiar with it.
licenses thing is quite complicated, to be honest. I'm not really an expert on the topic, but yeah, I guess what happens is, so full page version 1 and version 2 are under
Mm-hmm.
the MIT license. You can still find them under the releases
Mm-hmm.
page in GitHub, and then after that, I changed to GPL.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how that legally works, or I don't know exactly how it does, but that's how what I did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I probably it will work like this. At least that's what I thought. But I'm also not. I'm not a lawyer. I have no idea about it.
Yeah,
But
so version 3 is under
yeah.
a different license. Yeah.
And so how long? Because there's also another tweet of yours, and you were saying, well, I started to play around with that, experiment with JavaScript plugins and so on, and
Hmm.
now 3 years later, I actually quit. My
Yeah.
full time job. How long did that really go, and were there times where you thought like this could be something, or a lot of a long time where you just did it for
Hmm.
fun but never imagined that it's going to be your bread winning income?
Yeah, well, at first, yeah, I couldn't even imagine that I was like somebody would be able to live out from these kind of things. So I guess this came naturally to me. I was working on it for free for 3 years under the MIT license, and at some point you start getting a bit. You have to take decisions like, should I keep on improving this, or should I just go for a barbecue with my friends, right?
Hmm.
Or should I spend extra hours doing this after work, or should I just chill with my housemates or my friends or whatever? So at the beginning it's very exciting. You get people using it, and that excites you a lot, and then provides you some help to keep on improving it. But at some point you start having to work on it when you don't actually feel like working on it, right? Because people keeps on requesting new features, or they have bugs, very specific bugs that almost look like you are doing free consultants services for them, right?
Yeah.
And that's when I thought, well, maybe I can try to get something out of it.
Hmm.
I got motivated by another developer. It's called, well, I don't know how to pronounce it either. I think it's Desandro. He
Hmm.
created Flickity, Mansory, and another popular JavaScript components. He was providing licenses for them, paid licenses. So I went into those. I read a bit how he was doing, and then I thought that I could do it as well. And that's when I started charging for, not for the product itself, but for paid extensions to the plugin. So
Okay.
they
Hmm.
were non-open source extensions that I was selling on top of the open source project.
Ah, yeah, that's
Um,
that's a good idea. Yeah.
so that's how it started, and then I saw people start buying them,
Hmm.
and that's what motivated me to keep on going. And then I noticed that I was well, feeling better about it all. Like if somebody reported a bug or wanted a new feature or whatever, then I wouldn't be so bothered about it, because now I knew I was getting something in return. So I think this way it works a bit better. Like when you can take the time to do something and you get compensated for that, then you don't feel as bad, because you can, you are not just wasting your free time. You're actually doing something in your, well, work time, I guess. And that's a win-win for both sides, for the developer and for the users, who get better support, better features, better response times. So I started selling the licensings, sorry, the extensions. And then after 6 months of doing that, I was able to quit my job.
Okay,
And then
cool.
after a year or so is when I decided to also change the whole project to another license, and try charging for the license itself for commercial use,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
non-open source projects.
Yeah, I think that it's really, really important that, projects, that they are sustainable, especially if you have some success with it, right?
Hmm.
Because there is more and more time that you are spending on it. And I think that, nobody, like if it's a hobby and you're spending 1 or 2 hours per week or something, this idea doesn't come up, right? But if it
Hmm.
gets, as you said, if you have more users, you're getting more requests, you're
Hmm.
getting more ideas maybe for features, so you're
Hmm.
spending more and more time. And obviously, I mean, we all have to live
Yeah,
somehow,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Obviously you have to think a little bit about how can I actually, make that maybe my job. And I think especially if you like something, that would be like a win-win, right? So
Hmm.
yeah, I can totally understand that. Another question that I had for you, when you were turning that around, I saw you had really big names. You have big names on your website
Mm.
for companies that are using FullPage.js, right? There was like Google, eBay, Coca-Cola, Sony, and so on, right?
Yeah.
Did they all purchase a commercial license? And did you reach out to them when you changed your licensing model and your monetization idea around that? Did you reach out to them and say, can I
Hmm.
actually buy
Uh,
now license for that? Or
so some of them are using my license. That's how I managed to discover their website. Because when you use a license for when you buy an extension, you have to register it for a specific domain.
Mhm.
Extensions have a different price depending on how many domains you want to use the extension for. That's how I discovered some of them.
Mhm.
Others, I think I just discovered them by chance, and they might not be using a license. So
Mhm.
it depends. But no, I didn't reach. Well, I mean, when somebody buys an extension or our license for the product now, I get their email, and of course I get I get to notify them about updates or changes. So yeah, when I release a new version, I notified all of my previous customers and I told them about that. But if they were not previous customers, they didn't get a notification. So
Mhm.
yeah, if they were using the previous version, they can keep on using that forever, and nothing's gonna change in their side.
Okay. And so, what's preventing people from using the new version and not buying for a license?
Um, well, I guess some people might not know that there's a more recent version, and others, I guess, they're happy with their website and they don't want to touch it at all,
Hmm.
so they don't even want to bother to update to the latest version.
Okay.
Others, they might not want to pay. It's not very expensive though. It's quite cheap. But there's all kind of users, not only companies, but also freelancers or people who just make websites for fun, or
Hmm.
uh, you know. Um, so that might be one reason, because there's no other good reason to not update, because it's
Yeah.
totally compatible. You don't have to almost change anything in your code. I think it's just one line, if so. So yeah.
But my question was more: are there people that are updating and not paying if they use it commercially, or is that not possible? Do you have some prevention
Oh,
mechanisms around that? What I mean is that can I
cheat the
be a little
system.
bit, yeah, cheat your system.
Yeah, you totally can, and there's not much that we can do about that. I mean, yeah, for example, I discovered there was a McDonald's website in Russia making use of the new version of the plugin with the new license, and they were not paying for it. And there was a warning: if you open the JavaScript console, you were able to see a red warning say, "Hey, this software is not licensed. You can
Uh-huh.
get a license here." But there's not much that I can do about that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can try to send I think they're called DMCA notices to Google or
Mm-hmm.
to
Yeah.
some marketplaces to take down some of the
Take
stuff.
down
But it's
notices. Yeah.
I cannot be bothered
It's a
for
lot
just
of hassle, right? It's a lot of
$10.
hassle.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So you are more focused on directing your energy to creating more value for your users
Hmm.
and, doing what you like and not so much bothered with the thefts and,
Yeah, I mean,
trickeries and things like this.
I bother a little bit, but I try not to bother too much. It is true that
Mm-hmm.
with extensions, to the main component, in those you have to register each of them for a different domain. So you actually have more like yeah, there's kind of like a more sophisticated license key that you cannot trick so easy.
Mm-hmm.
um, but that's only on the extensions. I don't want to enforce that on the product because then it would be too much of a burden for many people, and I think things are okay like that.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. And I mean, I think that I would probably draw a line a little bit between, as you said, smaller, maybe individuals that,
Mhm.
even though, I mean, $10, come on. But, like, if then there are like larger organizations like Google
Yeah.
or eBay using it, in addition to this small fee, really small fee for you,
Mm.
are they providing some support? Do you get some sponsorship? Like there's GitHub sponsors or something, or do you have other
Mm.
ways to support your work?
Well, what I do is I also no, I don't do sponsors. They don't usually get support unless they go for a higher tier license.
Mm-hmm.
They do get support with extensions. All kind of tires get support for those, but not for the main license. And also, what I do to get money from different places is also I sell plugins for WordPress, and I also do some affiliate links. And what else do I do? I also have another plugin that I also commercialize. So I have a few things that also drive money, and not only the full page licenses, also the extensions, which are not open source. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I just remember that another way that many people don't even bother to get a license is because they don't know very well how the GPL license works, or they are not very up to date with licensing terms and stuff. So they don't even know that they have to purchase a license, or they don't even know what is considered open source, or how to add a license to their own project. So this is
Mm-hmm.
a big issue that I see, especially on small developers, freelancers, and this kind of people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can imagine. So I, so you're talking about plugins. Is it like a package or is it like a plugin? What's the difference here?
Well, back in the days, every time you made a component for jQuery, it was called a plugin for
Mm-hmm.
jQuery. Nowadays, I tend to call it the library, a JavaScript
Okay,
library.
library. Yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, also the I talk about plugins for WordPress because
Mm-hmm.
WordPress, they
It's
have
more
this
plugin.
kind of
Yeah,
like plugin stuff,
yeah.
and then it's a plugin that it incorporates the library and
Okay.
allows you to do certain things, and you have a little interface. So it's not just full page; it's something on top of the component that allows
Mm-hmm.
you to do things
Mm-hmm.
through an interface, and kind of like the WordPress way.
Yeah. So when you were right at the beginning, you said, "Well, I tried to do that for my, for my boss, and try to
Yeah.
implement that, and I was surprised how difficult it actually is." Right? I'm really in the same situation because I ported two websites
Uh-huh.
from WordPress
Uh-huh.
to Gatsby now, right? And I was like,
Uh-huh.
"Oh, a static site, generator, and Gatsby is super supported and so on," and I completely underestimated how long it will take, right?
Right.
Even though there are so many plugins or components that you can use,
Hmm.
but just even researching which plugin to use, then
Yeah.
writing the query, really adopting it to your thing. I mean, it really flew out of hand. And even though the websites are now almost done, it's like always
Hmm.
like, oh, this little bit, still like that you even have to think about it.
Yeah, it's
I'm like,
crazy. It's
yeah,
crazy.
for Word, like with WordPress, I was not so happy because it's slow, and I didn't want to be
Mm.
bothered with going around PHP and changing something in the backend to improve my speed. And then the loading time of each page really was annoying. So I thought like, okay, I'm going to do a Gatsby site, and then I will have everything with markdown files, and it directly gets them from the file system.
Yeah.
And it took me actually no time almost, right, to have that set up, because there are already like startup packages, and then like, but then the small things like that the canonical link is a
All right.
direct, or
That's the
that
Pareto principle, right?
it's
That,
horrible. Yeah, that I have
yeah.
a sitemap, and then that I have the keywords.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I completely underestimated that. So yeah, I totally understand. So if I want to use full page now in my Gatsby site, is that something? Is that a thing? Can I do that? Would that make sense?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, well, I don't know what your site looks like. Is it more like a blog?
Yeah, it's mainly a blog, but it's not
Uh-huh.
only a blog. It also has like
All different sections and stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
and front pages, right, where
Right.
landing pages and so on. I think for the landing page, probably something that
Yeah,
so
I
if
mean,
you go,
you could totally use it. Yeah.
yeah,
It's just basically a JavaScript library, so you can initialize it whatever you want.
and then it's made mainly about the look and feel, right? Or
Yeah, it just
what's the thing?
so yeah. What it makes is it allows you to create this snap scrolling experience,
Mm-hmm.
full screen. So, well, of course, it is much more complex than that. It has many more options that you can
Yeah.
configure. You have hashtags, hash
Mm-hmm.
URLs. You have history back and forward. You have lazy load. You have play, pause of media elements. You have many more things, but the basic
Yeah.
thing is
Right.
yeah,
And I think this is it, right? So first you think, oh, what is it? Right. And it's really small. And now like I have this blog, and I'm thinking like, but if I,
yeah,
if I'm in my blog and I mark anything, then I would like a pop-up that says share it
hmm
on Twitter and so on.
yeah,
And I
exactly.
realize
So the very basic
yeah,
functionality seems very easy always to implement by yourself to
yeah,
do,
right.
but
Yeah.
that's like and then 20% of the extra feature that you want, those are what take the most time, right?
Takes a lot of time.
Um,
Yeah, exactly.
so the
Like, and then
details.
and then you want to have like a previous previous article, next article,
Yeah.
and then this is not good enough because you want it by category, right? And so
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
totally.
so another thing that I was thinking a lot about, and that reminds me also of your success stories, and there are similar success stories, I think, now
Oh yeah.
more and more popping up right around the
Hmm.
internet, is that 10 years ago, if you ask somebody to pay €1 or dollar or whatnot, or 10 for something, they would like, crazy. I mean, everything was free, and it was like
Mm.
software should not cost any money. And I think especially in the last 2 years, 3 years, it completely changed. I mean, if there like Google was, sunsetting most of their products that are for
Hmm.
free, right? And then the ecosystem completely changed into this SaaS businesses, but also that you have more and more smaller, I would say, yeah, smaller independent developers also really making money for their software, right? And suddenly I feel like, okay, we have to pay for everything, and it's getting really expensive. Like for my website, if I don't want to use Google Analytics, right, which is free,
Yeah.
and this is like the 10 years ago mindset, like
Uh-huh.
let's use Google Analytics, and now the mindset is, oh, we don't want to use Google Analytics, so
Yeah.
what else do we have here? And then I find
Right.
like 10 different analytics platforms, but they're all at least $20. And I'm
Per
like,
month. Yeah.
okay, this is for my private blog. It's already, already a lot, right? Because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not only the analytics that you
Uh-huh.
need a lot of things. But I see that people are starting to value software more. What's your
Yeah,
experience
I
here?
think so. It's true. Like at the beginning, it wasn't common at all to charge for these things, and now it's getting a bit more common, right? But still, on the JavaScript environment, especially on the front end side of it, it's not yet too common to charge for these kind of things. You see libraries, components of all kind, but usually they tend to be free because I think one of the main reasons is it's not easy to protect in some way. Like the code is it's free. Everybody can see the code when it's front end. So it's very difficult to protect something like that. And when you cannot protect it, I guess it doesn't make or some people think it doesn't make much sense to charge for it. But yeah, I know a few libraries that are starting to charge for JavaScript libraries. But yeah, it's still not very common. I think it's more common for other kind of products, for backend stuff,
Mm-hmm.
for kind of like subscription services. But I think it's still need to improve a bit more in that
Yeah,
regard,
yeah,
because I
yeah.
think it's beneficial. Like sometimes when you don't see this, when you don't see that the owner of the creator of the component is getting some benefit out of it, then it's easier to see projects in GitHub that will get unmaintained, or to that they will eventually die or get obsolete or whatever, because somebody cannot keep on maintaining a project forever. Some people think that you can create an open source project, publish it, and forget about it. But the publishing part is just the very beginning.
Yeah.
Then you have to keep on maintaining it, and that's for years. Like my component is like more than 7 years old, I believe, and you have to keep on improving it and adding features and reporting, and dealing with reports, and so many people don't bother doing this, and then you see that the last release was 4 years ago. So it's not really a component that sometimes you can trust, or you have to look for an alternative, or you open an issue and nobody answers.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And what's your experience with, there's this rumor, I would say, or the anecdotes around customers, and especially the free riders. They are really like heavy maintenance customers that are asking a lot of things, and then the people that are
Oh
actually
yeah.
paying are much more, moderate. And I mean, my experience is definitely like this. Whenever I provided things for free,
Uh-huh.
people come with this attitude that it's
They're
their
right.
right. Yeah, it's their right. I mean, sometimes I get emails like I have a newsletter and you get an ebook, right, that I
Uh-huh.
wrote. If you for my subscribers, and sometimes they can't find their email in the spam, right? It goes in promotion or spam or whatnot,
Mm,
right? It's not really my fault or something
yeah.
I can do. And I'm always, if somebody is, writes me an email back and asks, I didn't get it, I'm always doing the work to write them a personal email, send them the book, right? But there are emails like, you said and you didn't.
Yeah, totally.
And
So
I'm like,
aggressive
okay,
sometimes, right? Yeah.
yeah, wow, okay. And for other things
um
as well, what's your experience here?
yeah, you always get some people that is a bit aggressive, a bit they want everything for free. They want you to work for them for free, doing consultancy and fix their bugs that sometimes they are not even related with your own product, right?
Yeah,
So well, what I usually do is just reply them very politely, explain them the situation, and always telling them, if you found a bug or you're not happy with this because you didn't pay for it, then you can just go and check the code, because it's open source. You can check it yourself, and that's a good thing. Like everybody can check it and fix bugs if they find them. So
yeah,
I think having it as an open source is also a way to, move people uh, in certain direction, and tell them, hey, this is open source. You are taking advantage of it, but it's also good because you can fix your own issues, right, if you have them. So that's
yeah,
what I do sometimes, and other times I just tell them, well, if you need my help, you can always upgrade to the business license, and then I'll provide you 1 hour support or whatever. So I give them the
yeah,
options, and that's it. But yeah, you always get some angry people demanding so much.
yeah.
If they are angry and they paid for it and they are not happy because there's a bug that I cannot fix, for example, then I'm happy to refund them.
Mm-hmm.
If I cannot find fix their bugs, it's that's makes sense to me. But otherwise, if they are not paying anything, then there's I help them to some extent, but not there are some limits.
Yeah. So, how much of your workday now is really, are you still like a programmer or still a developer in your mind? Or are you now, like, are you a salesperson already?
Right.
Or, like
That's a very
an
good
admin
question.
person? Yeah. How do you feel like in your entrepreneurial journey right
Hmm.
now?
I don't know. I think I like to consider myself more like a business person than a developer. It is true that I'm a developer, and I have the background on this, and I keep on developing the product. Actually, I'm about to release a new major version. Um, but it is also true that I don't spend my whole time developing. Anymore. Like I
Okay.
also have to do marketing, I have to do content marketing, I have to do taxes. You have to
I hate
do
Texas. Yeah, I know
all kinds
that.
of things like images. You have to think about potential new opportunities. You have to think about the license system. You have to think about the, I don't know, so many kind of things. So the pricing. So yeah, I guess I like to consider myself more as a business person. I would like to maybe eventually in the future delegate part of the developing side to somebody else that is even
Hmm.
better than me. So also other people can benefit from that because well, you always try to look for the best outcome, and sometimes it's also getting rid of yourself for certain
Yeah,
tasks. So
yeah, true. Yeah. So I don't know. I couldn't find anything about how much you're making per month or per year.
mm.
I'm also not sure if you're sharing something publicly. Some people do, some people don't.
Mhm.
Um, you know, I'm totally going with whatever you decide. But do you share it? Do you say how much you're making with it,
In
or
my
can you give
case,
us an
I
idea?
prefer not to be very open about it,
Mm-hmm.
just because it's open source, so anybody can just see my code and create another project and start doing the same. So that's one of the reasons.
Mm-hmm.
If I had the SaaS, a backend project or whatever, I wouldn't mind. But right
Yeah.
now, I prefer to be a bit more private on this aspect. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we can say that I get enough to live comfortably, and that I have different sources of income. That's an all. Everything comes from the main component. It also comes from the plugins for
Mm-hmm.
WordPress, from affiliate links that I have selling other WordPress themes, from support issues, from consulting services, from and now I'm starting a blog as well, which I'm also expecting to monetize in some way. So um, yeah,
Yeah, that's
I think
good.
that's
Yeah,
what I can
yeah.
say.
And I think it's really good to have multiple income streams. I also try to have more than one. And it gives you a little, at least for me, it gives me a little bit ease of mind that, if
Hmm.
something dries up or doesn't work out so well, maybe SEO doesn't work, or, something else comes, a copycat, as you said, right?
Hmm.
You have other opportunities as well. So yeah, I can totally understand that. Cool. So I think probably there are a couple of listeners that are also like want maybe more freedom, or at least a side project that gives some side income.
Hmm.
What's your advice for them? What would you do? Like now you're in that game for a long time. We said
Hmm.
7 years. Um, what do you think is what's the right time right now to start something? You're saying a blog
Oh, the right
or
time. The right time is always
yeah.
now. Because some people are still waiting to finish that course, to finish that book, to become better, and to master certain technology. I don't think that's the way you have to take this. The way you have to take it is, do your best with whatever you know, and you will probably end up helping somebody. When I created my project, I wasn't an expert developer in jQuery. I created it because I wanted to keep on learning, and creating something useful was what was a good motivation for me. And I
Hmm.
think that's what a lot of people have to do. Well, it happens the same when I created my first website. I do it. I created it using Microsoft Word, and I didn't know how to code. I didn't know anything about websites. Um, but I had a teacher that taught me how to make websites using Microsoft Word, and then I started seeing people using the website, and that's what motivated me to keep on learning. Right. Um, so the right time, I think, is always now. Just do whatever, keep on improving it, keep on iterating it,
Hmm.
get feedback from people, and they will tell you sometimes how to improve things, what features they want you to add, what bugs they found. So I think that's what really helped me to to improve my components at first. Um, what I would say is that don't quit your job. Do something on the side, see
Yeah.
how it goes, get feedback, and then when you get some traction, you can decide to quit.
Yeah.
In my case, I only decided to quit when I saw that I was gonna be able to keep on living from this. Took me 6 months, can take more, can take less. It depends on people. But I was working it on the side for 3 years, and I that's what I would recommend people to do it on the side if they can, and not get too crazy because a great idea might not result in people buying your product. So yeah, that's one of the things. And another thing that I think helped me a lot at the beginning was making it, well, I was open source or let's say free,
Hmm.
because when you have something for free, at least at the beginning, or you have a freemium kind of product or something, you get much more exposure. Like people will blog about that, people will share it on Twitter, on
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, or so you create this kind of like snowball where the content keeps on spreading faster because it's free. Unless you have a very good product and you can already charge for it or whatever, having it free at the beginning might be good, because you not
Mm-hmm.
only get much more free marketing, because people don't mind sharing stuff when they know that it's free and nobody's going to really benefit out from that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you also get the feedback from the people. The more people they use it, the more feedback you get, and the more you can improve it on different iterations. And then in the future you always can start charging for it, release new versions, or or even pivot to another area or whatever. But having that free feedback and that free marketing, I think is very powerful at the beginning.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time talking with me about your journey and about how we could leverage open source to actually start our own little business and
Hmm.
get independent.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you for
yeah,
having me here.
yeah. It was really great talking to you, and thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mikala.
Okay, bye,
Bye
bye,
bye.
bye. This was another episode of the Software Engineering Unlocked podcast. If you enjoyed the episode, please help me spread the word about the podcast. Send the episode to a friend via email, Twitter, LinkedIn, well, whatever messaging system you use, or give it a positive review on your favorite podcasting platform such as Spotify or iTunes. This would mean really a lot to me. So thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will talk to you in 2 weeks. Bye.